Om Shri Sai Ram, offering my most humble and prayerful salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Today, after a long gap, we are back by His grace to continue this beautiful divine saga. And we have one of the most interesting characters and persona to be discussed and shared today. So let's begin our evening by the prayer, and I request all of you to please join us. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Shri Sai Ram. Let's begin this evening by invoking the blessing of Lord Hanuman. Om Anjaneyaya vidmahe Vayuputraya dhimahi Tanno Hanumantah prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. It's a great blessing to really contemplate and think about this beautiful persona called Sri Hanuman. The more and more we dwell into his life, the more humble I get, more overwhelming the feeling is that how great the persona was. You look at him from any aspect. He, on one hand, represents our own evolution. On another hand, he represents that ultimate supreme goal, the consciousness which we are aspiring to achieve. Lord Hanuman holds a very important place in the story of an avatar, Sri Ramchandra. In fact, many would even argue that if not for Hanuman, Ramayana would not be complete. Anyways, let us jump into this beautiful topic, and let me invite my brothers here. Brother Anil Kumar, Sai Ram
Sai
Bhaiya,
Ram, Sai Ram.
and Brother Raju.
Sai Ram Brother.
Sai Ram. So, brothers, today we are here on a very interesting journey to share and discuss and dwell upon a wonderful persona which has intrigued many, inspired many, and still continues to play a very pivotal role as a role model for all of us. Let me quickly sketch a story of Hanumanji's birth, and then we can take the story forward from there. We did touch upon this when the yajna happened in Ayodhya, when the Raja Dashrath was desirous of having children, and Putra Kameshti Yajna was performed at Ayodhya. And as we know, a persona from fire emerged with a vessel in hand which had paisam in it, a sweet porridge, and it was handed over to Raja Dashrath, who in turn gave it to his queens for partaking. But as the destiny would have it, one portion of that paisam, which was given to the second queen, was taken away by a bird. So that story ended there, and let us follow the bird and we realize that on another part of the country, on a mountain top, another mother, Anjaneya, was praying to sun god,
Wind
praying to
god.
God, moon god, praying
Wind,
to
wind,
God,
wind.
wind
Wind
gods,
god.
yeah,
Yeah.
praying to the wind god for a progeny for a child. And at that moment, that bird, one bird, drops this porridge, the vessel of porridge, in her palm. And she takes it as a blessing and partakes it. From an external eye, it looks very, coincidental, but that is the same seed, if I may use, which was passed on to Mother Anjaneya, who was blessed with a divine child, whom we know as Sri Hanuman. And this is how he got his name, as the custom stood that time. The child was acknowledged by the name of his mother. So that wonderful divine child, since he was born of Anjaneya, was called Anjaneya. Anjani was called Anjaneya. So let me pause this story here. This is a story which I narrated is a very physical story of the porridge being a conduit for the advent of Lord Hanuman. But interesting it is that we find we not only address him as Anjaneya because he was the son of Anjani, but we also call him PavanPutra, the child, the son of Pavan, the lord of wind. And many times we understand it as because it was the wind god who supported the travel from Ayodhya to Kishkinda. Hence, he was bestowed with the title that you also hold a parental position in this divine child's journey. So let me open it to our brothers here to share their thoughts on what is or how we could look at it as the inner significance of him being addressed as Pavanputra and Anjaneya. There's some background noise.
Yeah. So
Yes,
actually,
brother.
yeah. So Sai Ram, Hanuman's birth and his being called as Kesari and Anjani Putra, and he's being called on the other side as Pavan Putra, Maruti, and so on, right? Is, I think, was created deliberately by the divine, by the Shiva Sankalpa, whose uh, avatar was Hanuman, Lord Hanuman, to create something which is akin to what happens to every human being. It's it's not, it's very unusual. Initially, when we look at it, we find it little odd. How can an individual have two fathers, right? At a very gross level, it sounds unbelievable. On one side, we are saying he is Kesari's son, and other side, we are saying he is the son of wind god. So, but then all of us, Swami clarified this in his own very subtle way. See, Swami had one method of answering many things through one single sentence, right? He will answer many people. He will answer many questions at in one go. I'll give you another example, which is right, not directly connected to this, but how Swami very subtly used to answer things. We just started chanting Vedam. This was in 2003, 2004, uh, during darshan time, right? So everybody got interested because Swami said darshan music has to be replaced by Vedam, and we all started chanting. So all guests, everybody, all VIPs, devotees used to take a lot of interest. And in Narayana Upanishad, which starts with Atha Purusho Havai Narayano Kama, you must have heard this, right? It's a very
Yeah.
common mantra nowadays. In that note, towards the end, it comes Devaki Putro, right? So one guest walked up to us and said, on one side you say Veda is Apaurushaya, Veda is eternal, Veda is been there from time immemorial. And on the other side, now you're chanting Devaki Putro. This happened in Dwapara. Huh? So Vedas are supposed to be there even before Kruta Yuga. So how do you correlate? What is this actually? Right? So we were also quite surprised. Now, how do we answer this? And we, Brahmanyo Devaki Putro Brahmanyo Madhusudanaha, it is what the sentence that comes in Mahanarayana Upanishad, sorry, Narayana Upanishad. So we said, sir, we are just learners, we have no idea. And uh, what answer can we give? And next day, Swami has his own. Really, that was the beauty of the Lord. Next evening, Swami was listening to Vedam, and then Swami stopped and started uh, conversation, right? And in that, Swami started talking about Ishwaramma in that conversation. And Swami said, Ishwaramma is not the name of Ishwaramma right from her birth. Her name was Raju. What was her
Namagiram.
own? Namagiri Amma.
Namagiri. Namagiri Amma.
Nam.
Namagiri Amma was her name by birth, from birth, right? It was only after Swami was born that the grandfather, Kondammaraju, renamed her as Ishwaramma, right? And Swami left this story, told about this and left it. Then sitting there in the front, we correlated it. Oh my God, Swami is actually answering yesterday's question. What was Swami saying? After Krishna is born, Devaki name would have been given to Mother Devaki. Maybe her original name would not have been Devaki. Get my point? So in Vedas, already it was told that Lord will be born and he will be born to Devaki, right? So Devaki's original name, we have to actually do a deep search. We did try, but we couldn't exactly get the source. But for certain, Devaki's original name would not have been Devaki. Only after the birth of Krishna, she would have been renamed. And this in the history books and in the Bhagavatam, it wouldn't have been even captured. Like this Namagiri Amma and Ishwaramma also, unless Swami tells and unless we make efforts to ensure that this passes on, what will remain is Mother Ishwaramma Sutta Shriman only will remain, right? Not Namagiri Amma Sutta Shriman, right? So how subtly Swami used to answer, no? He used to allow us to also ruminate, never give the direct, immediate answer. Sometimes he used to give, sometimes he used to leave it as cryptic. So very next day Swami answered. But Swami answered it in a very beautiful way, giving his own example and his mother's name being changed after his birth, right? So similar to that, here when we first listened to this birth, and Swami actually answered this in a very beautiful way in one of his discourse by saying, what is the actual name of every individual? What is the right name that one should have? And Swami said, the right name is Amrita Putraha, Amritasya Putraha, or Amrita Putraha.
Amritasya Putra.
Amritasya Putraha, right? Why? Because we are the children of the eternal divine, right? We are the children of the immortality, right? So, therefore, we only come through parents. This Swami has told any number of times. The children only come through parents, but they have not come from parents. There's a very beautiful, important difference between this through and from. We need to understand. We are not from parents, we are from the divine, come through the parents into this world, right? So, exactly if you now correlate this, Kesari and Anjani Devi were only parents for the appearance of Lord Hanuman, who actually came from Vayuputra. Why do we say? Because actually, if you see, they are Ashtamurtis of Lord Shiva. Ashtamurti, Lord Shiva is supposed to have 8 forms by which he is seen in this world. The 8 visible forms of um, Lord Shiva are the Panchabhutas, which is Shabda, which is Prithvi, Apas, Tejo, Vayu, Akasha, right? Sun, moon, and mind. These are the Ashtamurtis by which the Lord Shiva is present across the whole universe. And therefore, Vayudeva, when we say, we are actually saying that he is a form of Lord Shiva, Rudra, Rudra Rupa, Amshavatar or Purnavatar of Rudra Rupa, come through Anjani and Kesari. And this we get a clear understanding in the way Lord Hanuman speaks. The beauty is, Lord Hanuman is such an example to be followed at every moment of our existence. Because when he introduces himself to Lord Rama, he says, I am the child of Anjani Devi. They call me Anjaneya. And my father is Kesari. He tells all this about mother and father. But when he goes to Ravana, he tells, I am PavanPutra. He doesn't say I am Anjani Putra. Why? Because he realized himself to be divine and then crossed the ocean. He realized his divine descent and then crossed the ocean, right? His crossing the ocean came after Jambavan reminded him of his divine descent, right? And then he crossed it. So he actually says, I'll just quote it once. Beautiful, actually, to Ravana. He tells him, I am. Aham tu Hanuman Nama Maruta Saurasya. Why is that sound coming? I don't know from where. Aham tu, he tells, this is from Sundarakanda. He tells Ravana, Aham tu Hanuman Nama Maruta Saurasya Sutaha. I am by name, I am called Hanuman. I am the son of Maruti. Right? So how beautiful is, see, where he introduces himself as what is beautiful, really. Later on he also tells him also that Kesari is my father, Anjani is, but first introduction is, he says, I am the son of Maruta, right? So there is, I think, Hanuman wise an example which to whom we can correlate more than Lord Rama is because Lord Rama, the minute we tell his name itself, we are reminded of this divinity and we know it is the all powerful, almighty divine being, perfect divine being. And therefore, it is a goal to be reached, but never reachable, sort of a thing, right? But then Lord Hanuman, right from his birth, he ensured that shows himself to be one among us. He shows himself to be equal to us, right? His birth is an indication for that. Then, as we go along, we will discuss how he forgets. His forgetfulness, so-called forgetfulness, is what is there in all of us also, right? And how
Sure.
he overcomes that. So we'll see that. So, but the point here is how we can correlate with Hanuman, all along correlate with Hanuman, and
Perfect.
understand how the
Raji,
journey can be
yeah.
to the divine.
Raji, you want
Yeah,
to add
over to
something?
Raju.
Uh, yes, brother. So after the beautiful point that sir added, I just wanted to add 2 3 points. Point one: even the physical instruments, apparently, Kesari and Anjani Devi, they were no ordinary beings. Kesari was a general in uh, Vali and Sugriva's army. In fact, Vali's army, Sugriva and Hanuman are of equal age, almost same age. So they were friends from a childhood state. So when Asura, Shambharasura, when he attacks the bathing gods of Sumeru kingdom, uh, the current Hampi area, so there he becomes a menace. So all the generals get scared. Bali feels it is too low for his competence to go and fight that Shambharasura. So he sends Kesari. Kesari was the one who comes forward and says, "I'll handle it." So Kesari goes and kills him, And Wali was so impressed with the fight, with that victory, that he awards that Sumeru kingdom to Kesari. So that's how Kesari, from a general, he kind of becomes a vassal king. But however, his son Hanuman continues to be a playmate of Sugriva since childhood. But all the while maintaining a relationship that Sugriva is a master and he is kind of a son of a
Yeah.
subject of a vassal king. And so even the instruments, so who were instrumental for this being to come down, were of not ordinary nature. So that was the power of, or the strength of valor of Kesari. And on the other hand was Anjani Devi, his mother. She was considered to be one of the most beautiful monkeys. It is said that even
She was actually an
Wali, there are points at points of time where
she was
yes,
actually an
yes, go on, sir, please.
Apsarasa being cursed.
Apsarasa,
Apsarasa was cursed. Yeah.
yes. So so that was, I mean, they were both very abled instruments that the Lord, that the Supreme Self chose to send Hanuman down. And second point is the thought that what was the thought that Sumitra had when the vessel was taken away by the bird? Was that Swami beautifully writes in Ramakatha Rasavahini, she says, rather she thinks to herself that what is the use of me taking this poison? If Kausalya takes, her son would be a king because she is eldest. If Kaikeyi takes, probably her son would get the kingdom because Dasharatha has promised her. But whatever, irrespective of my progeny, whether I take or not, my offsprings would only be the servants of the sons of Kausalya and Kaikeyi. Right at that thought, when she says servants, the bird picks up the payasam bowl and it flies away. And it is with that thought that the payasam was actually sent away. And that's how we see that the greatest servant that the world has ever seen, Hanuman, was born because that payasam was laced with the thought of that servitude. And point three, Shuka said Sukha was describing to Parikshit about about Gopikas. So the lines go that when Shuka was describing the Ras Leela, Parikshit had a doubt, had a feeling that, oh my God, these things that are not ordinary, or rather in some sense sensuous, are being described by the young mendicant Shuka. What must be he thinking? Was he getting disturbed? Was he getting deviating thoughts? So Shuka, being Shuka, he reads Parikshit mind and he tells him that, "O Parikshit, my mind is like that Manasarovar, which is so still. It is that you can actually see the bottom, the depth of my own self. That is my supreme self. You can visualize it. You can see it through me. My mind is so still, and such a person with such a still mind is crying and is paying respect to Gopikas. And imagine what would be the greatness of those Gopikas." And Parikshit is stunned with that statement. Now, why I'm saying this is, you come back now to 5,000 years later, and we have the Lord, that same Ramachandra. He has not paid in some sense any obeisance to any devotee. But if you look at the entire avatar structure of Swami, it is only one devotee whom has installed on top of his place, that is Hanuman. 65 feet. He puts up Hanuman statue, and he shows Hanuman as a perfect example to every devotee that walks into Prashant Nilayam. And says, if you want to be my devotee, look at him. There is this exemplary devotee, be like him. It is such an unsaid but powerful lesson that Swami is teaching all of us. It's a standing reminder.
Actually,
In fact, I remember,
actually,
sir, yes,
that whole Hillview Stadium, no, after Swami built all those statues of the Lord Krishna, Jesus Christ, and then Hanuman, all that, no. Uh, my father gave a beautiful explanation to it. It's a very beautiful analogy. I think I just got reminded as you were saying it. He said, "The playground that you see, the stadium that you see, is like the world, right? So ones who have taken this world as witness, have performed their activities as need to be done, dharmic way, and become a witness to the whole play of this drama, right? move up and become those divine beings who are standing there to watch the drama that is still going on below. Is it not?
Beautiful,
To
beautiful.
convey this thing that if you also can become those divine beings, you also can become Lord Hanuman, right? Provided you play this in this play field called the stadium, right? Your right dharma, you will also slowly move up to the status of a witness and become the divine. To convey this message that this is the path for you to take to become the divine and be worshipped forever by the whole universe, Swami created that Hillview Stadium, my father used to say.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Because
Okay,
everyone
Raju,
there,
finish your thought.
right? Whether it is
Yeah,
Lord Jesus or everything is, they all become the witnesses, right? Shiva himself is just an eternal witness to
Yes,
the whole drama that is going on, right?
so in fact,
okay, Raju, finish your thought.
one
Yeah,
of the students. No, I just saying one of my seniors had asked Swami that Swami morning every morning when you go for jogging, Swami immediately asked him, "What do you see?" He says, "Swami, on top we see Krishna, Shiva," and Swami said, "On top of that, Danmida," and he said, "Swami, Hanuman, Swami." Hanuman. See, that is. Then he turned towards all the boys and he said, "That is a silent reminder that each of you should be like that Hanuman." And he walked away.
Beautiful,
So I
beautiful.
think that is what the Hanuman is to all of us, an exemplary in every
Yeah, yeah,
sense.
that's true.
beautiful.
I think just
See, so
one
much,
point to add
so much we
here.
can explore.
Yeah,
Yes,
only one point to add here. While for Lord Shiva to come down, the parents chosen are the best that can be there on this planet, right? Kesari and Anjani Devi. But from a perspective of a child, right, of a son or a daughter, they should consider their own parents to be the best that they would have had to come down on this earth, right? I hope I have conveyed what it, for a child, their parents should be. That's why we say Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. For the child, the parents, no matter whether they are Anjani or Kesari, it doesn't matter, valorous or no, not valorous, it all immaterial. For the child, the parents are Anjani Devi and Kesari. That's it. It should be that attitude, right?
Raju.
That's
Okay,
why Lord Hanuman also, if you have to take the example, he used to always speak when he introduces his father. He used to speak uh, with an adjective before, and then glorify his valor, and then say, "I am the son of Kesari." Right?
okay. Let's continue the story forward, and we see that Hanuman as a child was, by birth, I would say, was endowed with good strength and good powers, and that is where the whole story of his naughtiness and all that starts. And one of the biggest story, the greatest story, was that one day he was hungry as a baby, and he looks for food. And that time it was, I think, early morning, and he sees the rising sun, and he mistakes or thinks to be a fruit and jumps towards it. So that jumping, well, of course, we know that he didn't reach sun because in the middle only he was hit, and that is how he got the name Hanu. That by the hit, his mouth was, the Hanu was hit, and his name became Hanuman. But the beauty is that the child had an ability to jump towards sun, and that ended up into him being blessed by all the gods with all the powers and abilities. How
I
do we
think
look
here,
at this?
yeah, here I think there's one. As I was thinking about it, what uh, what occurred means by Swami's grace, the thought that had come to me was, see, in Rudram that we now almost all Sai devotees are learning, right? Namakam. Very first Anuvakam, Aruna uta babhrutsu mangalah ye chemagum rudra. Right? So,
Abhito
so is the rising sun. The rising sun, which is in the form of orange ball, right, is a pratyaksha form of Lord Rudra, right? And
Hmm.
it goes on to say that mm, ye chemagam Rudra.
Abhito Dikshashita Sahastra Sambrita.
One second, just give me one moment. There, Gopa word, that line I'm missing out.
Adrisham.
The line before that. Whole thing instead of chanting, I thought I'll just pick up only that part.
Chemagam Rudra. Abhito
Yes,
Dikshashita
Ambaranam.
Sahastra.
Utainam gopa adrushannadrashannudaharyah utainam vishwa bhuta nishadrushto mridayatinaha. Utainam gopa. Gopa here means uh, unread, simpletons. Pamaralu we say in Telugu, simpletons, right? Gopa here means simpletons. So for the simpletons, the means for all normal individuals, the way the Lord Rudra's darshan can be had is by seeing the rising sun, the orange orb of the rising sun, right? That is how we need to have the darshan of Lord Rudra every day. And Lord Hanuman, being the form of that Rudra, he identified himself with that rising sun as soon as he was born. And that is why he naturally went there. It is not that it is unusual for him, it is his form, right? It is Lord Rudra who has taken birth as Lord Hanuman. And when he sees himself there, where's the question of not being attracted to that very same form, right? So it is not that he had to travel all that distance. He identified himself with that orange orb of the glorious sun, which is the form of Rudra, right? So that travel is natural for him because it is him. He didn't actually had to reach there. He was already there, in a sense, right? So that is figuratively shown to us in the story that he jumped and went across to the sun, right? It's a figurative way of saying it. His actual meaning is what? He is Lord Rudra who has taken birth, right? He is already there, and therefore all the lords had come and given all their powers, which actually they got from Lord Rudra only. They got from Lord Shiva only all these powers. So they gave it back to him, saying that you have a duty to perform in this earth. So we are giving it back to you now. So that is my
Yes, in
understanding
fact,
is that is the story.
it's
Yes,
a
Rajan.
beautiful, beautiful analogy. No, it's a beautiful thing what sir said in, as Swami describes in Premavahini, no, sorry, Dharmavahini, that the one who is below the senses is Indra, the one who is above senses is Rudra. So,
Correct.
assuming a form, physical form, probably when that whatever we call the supreme experience of Hanuman realizing himself, that was brought down by this physicality of the form. That is why
Correct.
that's very poetically it is said Indra brought him down,
Correct.
and yes, he has come down to the level of senses, but bestowed with all the powers that any human can ever conceive of. So that's how
Correct.
the boy Hanuman was prepared.
So his jumping to the sun, no, is actually his identification with sun. We have to actually reword it this way: that he identified himself. He saw himself from his cradle. That's what they say. No, he saw from the cradle and he saw the sun, and he thought it to be a fruit and jumped. But actually, what it means is it's not that he jumped, but he actually identified himself one with that sun, because it was that very same divine entity which had taken birth. And Vedamata clearly says that sun is nothing but Rudra Rupa, right? So And this one comes even in Sundarakanda. I think we discussed this once earlier. When Mother
Yes.
Sita
Yes.
sees Hanuman on the branches of the tree first time, she sees him in the orange orb of a rising sun. The reason this scene has been,
We'll touch upon that. We'll touch upon
yeah,
it because we have not touched upon that story.
yeah.
So we'll go
The
back
reason
there.
this was said by Lord Sage Valmiki is because to convey that Rudra Rupa has come, means Lord Shiva has come. And
Now
before
this,
that, she has
when
lot
you
of
look at
Shekunas.
Hanuman,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolutely. When you look at Hanuman identifying himself with the sun, which is the supreme self, his own true identity, it makes a lot more sense when we say that Hanuman was a student of sun. His thought was
Correct.
always focused on sun. His attention was always focused on sun, which
Who is
But
means his
described
but
as
attention
as
is
a
focused
story,
on his supreme
okay.
self.
Let me take you from the story point of view. Then you can all come back to that inner meaning of it.
sun.
So
Yeah.
otherwise we'll get distracted. So the story goes that after these blessings, the child Hanuman becomes kind of restless and he's full of energy, and that creates havoc for the people around him. And especially he goes and disturbs even the rishis, even though it is a childlike prank, but the prank becomes too much for them to handle. And then the story goes that they curse him, that he would forget all his knowledge and all his strength until reminded. And once he's reminded, he will be full of it again. So this is a storyline which goes. And we discussed it in the earlier time also that his constant the focus on his self, the supreme self, could be looked at as his forgetful nature. But on other hand, we look at him as a very beautiful, an example of a human journey of every sadhaka. So, Brother Anil, your input on his forgetfulness, how we understand Lord Hanuman's forgetful nature.
Yeah, as you were saying it, I was just thinking, I think all of us are cursed when we take birth, right? We forget everything the minute we step out of the womb. We don't remember anything, right? We are, all of us, I think that forgetfulness is there. That is the reason why Hanuman is exemplary for all of us. Because every aspect of his life is relatable to every human being's aspect of every human being's life. The reason is all of us are also of the divine origin, and none of us remember. It is not clearly shown that we have been cursed by a sage and therefore we don't remember. Probably we would have been cursed and therefore we are taken birth. Right? In fact, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says it is because you have done a mistake you are born. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says this is prison. This world is a prison. And because you have done a mistake, you have been sent to this prison. It's not that we are born because uh, of something means no, we haven't done a mistake. It is because we have done a mistake we are born. That's what Lord, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, which is very true. We have come with a. This is what Swami explains as the karmic garland that Lord Brahma puts around each GV and sense, right? Kaladoka
Yes.
haramu, right? So
Hmm.
kantaharamu, that
Kaladu.
is the karmic thing. So it is because we have done a mistake and we have come, and therefore can we rephrase it as we have been cursed to forget our uh, original divinity, right? So even Hanuman is exactly, if you look at that curse, it only correlates to our lives, each individual's life, that we also have been cursed to forget the divine origin of ourselves, right? And Lord Hanuman actually showed how to, in his journey, he showed how to overcome this problem, how to get over this curse. He
Well,
shows it
Anil,
in his journey.
you got a very important point here that we all have this forgetfulness, which somehow we try to take it as a positive stride. That okay, there's a blessing in not remembering your past, but that from a divine perspective, from a spiritual perspective, when you look at it, Yeah, we all have forgotten our true divinity. So we all have forgetfulness. But the point which you made, I liked it very much, is that when Hanuman is reminded, he acknowledges it and becomes one with the
Yes,
reality.
correct.
That is what Bhagwan Baba is to keep telling us, that, I am telling you, still you don't believe that you are God.
That's the
You know,
problem. Actually, that is
imagine
where
the
is
God telling
our
you on your face,
weakness. Correct.
you are
Yes.
God, and we are saying, no, Swami, you are God, we are not.
Yeah, that is the problem. See, there, no, for Hanuman, it was not even Lord Rama who told him, "You are God." It was Jambavan who told him. Of course, Jambavan is no ordinary person, but still, it is not the avatar, the Purna avatar, who had gone and told Hanuman. For us, Purna avatar himself has come down and he is reminded not once. Every speech starts with Divyatma Swarupulara, right? And we don't even consider it as a part of the speech. Rest of the speech we listen, right? We think that is just some starting omkaram which just goes on, right? So it has become so common to us that we don't even acknowledge that Swami said something in the beginning. That has gone.
Yes,
At
just
least
to
that's what.
yes,
Uh,
sorry, just to add, go on, sorry.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was saying just to add, sir. In fact, if you read this Hawkins, David Hawkins, Doctor David Hawkins, who was fortunate and blessed to have that supreme realization, that experience of self-realization. He, in his talk, he beautifully says that when this state was endowed to him, when he was blessed with that supreme awareness, functioning through a physical body as an individual entity becomes almost impossible, because there is no individuality, there is no individual self. You're actually the entire universe. Now
Correct,
he found it so difficult to operate, and as a thought in that supreme state, just a thought passes through his mind that if required, probably the supreme self should allow this individual self to act as an individual. And over next 2 3 hours, that experience condenses itself, and he begins to experience his individuality, so that he can actually function. And that individual, or Hawkins or whatever, that individual is now able to disseminate that knowledge of the supreme self to all those
yeah,
thousands of audience. Now if you take this experience and correlate with Hanuman, when we say Hanuman has realized, or when Hanuman has associated himself with sun, or the Gana Aditya, that supreme self, his individuality has merged, and he has to be brought back into this individual identity to
correct,
function for all the upcoming tasks.
correct.
Imagine if that individual is not existing, the entire Ramayana would have
Yeah,
gone off. This Ramayana is
right.
for each one of us to learn. I think that's why the sages had to bring him back to this individual self with a curse saying that you will forget. Because if you remember, no, other things cannot happen.
Correct. Yes. He wouldn't have been in
I
Sugriva's
like that. Like,
line. Very good point. He wouldn't have been the minister of Sugriva. Right? Correct.
because
Perfect.
Absolutely.
if you remain, I think that is where Hanuman is also a very good example of vishist-dwaita, because
Correct.
he had the ability to remain in the senses and go beyond it. So
Yes.
this transition is the forgetfulness of Hanuman. I think I love that explanation, Raju. Thank you. It is wonderful. Yeah,
One
otherwise, he would not
analogy.
function.
Yeah. No, actually, one analogy after he realized himself, after Jamban tells, the way he would have functioned is the analogy that Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives. That after a person gets Brahmagnana, right? He becomes that, like Raju was right now mentioning, it becomes very difficult for him to function. But then few of them are blessed to move freely from
Between
individuality to the supreme. And he gives the analogy of,
then come
he
back.
gives and then come back. He gives the analogy of, once you become the owner of a house, you can go up to first floor, stay there as long as you want, and come down again to the ground floor, stay here as long as you want. Again, go up. You can freely go up and down the steps because you have now become the owner of the house,
Beautiful.
right? That is the analogy that Ramakrishna
You know,
Paramahamsa gives.
I always get reminded of the story of the Kamli Wala, the
Ah,
saint. uh, what is what is his name?
Neem Karoli Baba.
Neem
Neem
Karoli
Karoli
Baba,
Baba. Neem Karoli.
who was also related to the similar experience. And
Hmm.
somebody asked, "How did you realize?" He said, "My guru told me you're God, and I believed him." So
Ah, that's what.
it's such a beautiful thing that my guru told me
Yes,
you're God, and I believed him, and he
correct.
became God. So it is.
That's true, really. That faith, matters a lot. Swami gives so many Chinnakathas, for that. That story of the Ganga being at home, that's a beautiful story. Somehow, I'm very fascinated with that. It seems there was one daughter-in-law who is to be, who for whom Mother Ganga was her Aradhya Devata. Means so she is most fond of Mother Ganga, and Mother Ganga is her Ishta Devata. So she used to live somewhere far away from Ganga, but she used to keep one pot of water at home and call it as Mother Ganga, Gangama, right, and worship it. So when she went to the in-laws' house, all started making fun. How can this be Ganga? You just keep calling her Ganga. Anyway, have your own beliefs. But how can this be Ganga? You're not even brought water from Ganga to and poured it inside that, and you still call it Ganga. But she says, no, 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 this is Mother Ganga. Mother Ganga is with me, right? And then it so happens, it seems that the her husband goes on some business trip and then goes to Kashi. There he has bath in Mother Ganges and loses his, I think, uh, this one,
Ring.
either it's a ring or the necklace, I forget. When he has the dip, he loses that in the Ganges, and so he comes back quite worried. And then as soon as he comes back, he says, "See, everything went well, but in Ganga when I took bath, I lost the ring." Right, and he is very upset about it because it's a very precious ring and so on. And everybody, even the mother-in-law, everyone says, "See what your mother Ganga, she has taken away the ring that one good precious ring that was there, she has taken away." And she feels bad. Daughter-in-law feels bad and says, "No, no, no, Mother Ganga will never take. She will give back. I will get it from her." They say, "Are you gone mad? You go and search in River Ganga. Where will you find it?" She says, "No, no, no. I'll ask my mother Ganga. She'll give it." And so she goes inside her kitchen where she keeps this pot of water, which she calls as Gangama. She prays and then puts her hand inside that pot and pulls out the ring and comes and gives it to the mother-in-law and says, "See, Mother Ganga never takes anything. She is always gives." So that's the faith, the story of the faith, the faith, once we believe in something, that belief, how it comes is, I think that is the divine grace. That
See,
faith, that deep faith, if we can have in just one word of Bhagwan, Divyatma Swarupulara, I think it's done.
sometimes even to
The
comprehend
journey
that
is,
is a
yeah,
difficult
journey
thing.
is over. Journey is over then. Yeah.
Even that comprehension it's a challenge. Okay, I want to read here Brother Srinivas Balasundaram. He's written two things, Anil, and for you, brother. Like Jivatma is considered to be a part or spark of Paramatma, or in chemistry parlance, every metal will always try to reach to its natural ore state. Brother
Yep.
Anil, you want to highlight, clarify that chemistry part of it?
No, it's actually the natural state is always the most energy efficient state, and the energy efficient state is that form of the element which is the most stable form, and every element constant movement change is always towards that change, right? So everything tends to take its form which is natural. When we say natural, the least energy, most stable, right?
So
That's how we.
in the metallic parlance, how do you explain that every metal
So
tries to reach to its natural ore?
natural ore. The ore means invariably the metal is in a salt form. And
Aha.
which salt will it form? Means if I have to go a little more into chemistry, I was trying to avoid it. So nitrate or oxide or sulfate. There are so many salts that a metal can form, right? I'm just giving you three simple common examples, right? So, which salt is the most stable salt? It will tend to form that salt very naturally. Okay, to give you an example, a calcium carbonate, right? You will see big this columns of calcium carbonate in places where there's a lot of water and caves, right?
Caves, caves.
Caves. That's because that's the most stable form of calcium,
So it
right?
naturally.
So naturally goes towards that form.
Okay, for the recent conversation which we are having, he writes, Raju and you both, to clarify that even though Swami took this human form, this attribute is not applicable to him. Is it so? So,
Which
this
attribute?
transition, the transition, I think, from that Hanuman we're talking, right, from senses part to the supreme, the shift.
I
Obviously,
think
these are
Swami
spoken about.
explained.
Yeah,
Swami explained this. No, Raju will be able to quote it better. The Jiva Prajnato Patu Daiva Prajna. That's what is avatar all
అవతరించడానికి
about.
అర్థం ఏమి?
Yeah, correct. So there, no avatar comes
అవతరించడానికి
with
అర్థం
both.
ఏమి? Yes.
Right, avatar comes with both the prajnas inherently built. He doesn't forget the Daiva Prajna. He is fully aware of the Daiva Prajna. It's like that what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa analogy has given. No, he moves to the first floor, which invariably Swami is to one thing. If you had observed, he always lived in first floor. Means his actual destiny, it was never ground floor. I don't know why. Just observation. So he can move to the first floor, means move above all this worldly stuff, move above, go up, stay there as long as he wants, come down as long and spend as much time as he wants down, but again freely go up, freely come down. That freedom avatar has naturally.
beautiful. Okay, let's continue with the story that Hanumanji later on becomes student of the sun god. Now, the story goes, it's very interesting, and I would like your clarification on it. It seems they write that because the sun said, I cannot stop for you, son, I have to travel. And if you can pace up with me, then you can learn from me. So it seems Hanuman puts his one leg on the North Pole and one on the South Pole, and that is how he keeps the vigil on Lord Sun, and from there he grasps the knowledge. So it's very, when we read it, and if you tell the youngsters today, they always start laughing at it like, what are we talking about? How can one grow so much and all that? How do we look at it? How do we understand? On one hand, we say Hanuman is Aditya, Rudra. He is the, you know, embodiment himself. And then we have another relationship that on a physical level, he has to acquire knowledge, and for which he goes to the source of this knowledge, the creative knowledge, which is Sun. The whole basis of the creation is Sun. So he goes to the source as a student. So there is an attribute he's teaching us of a student. But then what does the sun god mean? What does it mean to, stand at a particular form in which he can look at a sun all the time and learn from him? So, Brother Anil and Raju, please share your thoughts on that.
So here first, Raju, can I go first?
Yes, yes, yeah, please.
Yeah. So here, first and foremost, we need to understand what this sun god means, because, as you said just now, a very immediate question that comes is sun never travels, right? It is the earth which is revolving around the sun. So where's the question of sun saying I travel from morning till evening, and therefore you stand across the sky and listen to me and look at me, right? So the sun here, I think, does not refer to the physical sun that we see. It's actually a projection. Actually, what I realized is everything that we see here in this world, present world, it could be a projection of the reality that is much far beyond. What do you mean by that? I was actually ruminating on this and trying to do some reading on it, and I was quite fascinated at what all connects that Bhagwan gave me. First and foremost is, see, we say Prithvi, Apas, Tejo, Vayu, Akashaha are Panchabhutas, right? What are the Panchabhutas? The earth, Prithvi, Apas is water, Teja is fire, Vayu is wind, and Akasha is ether. And very often Swami has told us that the whole universe has only these Panchabhutas. There's no sixth Bhuta, right? Only these Panchabhutas. Now, when Swami says whole universe, unfortunately, we tend to understand it as only the globe Earth, or at the most a solar system. We have forgotten that universe means whole of the galaxies, whole of the nebulae that we see, and they are also made up of the earth. Then what is earth that we are defining? The minute I say earth, we think of the globe earth, planet earth. You understand where we are getting mixed up? We are thinking planet earth to be one of the panchabhutas. In panchabhutas, when earth is said, it is not planet earth. Why? Planet earth is only in the solar system, whereas earth is panchabhutas are supposed to be across the whole of the universe. So how can this planet earth be across the whole universe? Not possible, right? So earth therefore in panchabhutas means bhumi. Bhumi in Bhusuktam is very first sentence says Bhumir Bhumna Dyaurvarinantariksham, right? So it seems it is spread across Bhumi, Bhumir Bhumna Dyauhu Varina Antariksham Athosuvaha. Antariksham is what, by definition, is what we see, the space. All the space, the Chandrayaan and the Mangalyaan and all these yans that are going on, right? They are all this space, and all this is part of Antariksha. Imagine there is Divi beyond Antariksha, which humans till now have not even conceived, have not even thought of. Forget even perception, they have not even thought of. Right there, and in this Divi Loka, Dyau which is full of light, right? In that Dyauloka, you have all the Swarga, the Indraloka, the Brahmaloka, the Vaikunta, the Kailasha, the Goloka, and now I'm sure Sai Loka also has been created there beyond all this, right? The supreme Manidvipa, which is Sai Loka, right? So these are all there beyond what we are right now perceiving. And what is the proof of it? Right? I got into one story which I shared with you, Abhi. Maybe you can show it in the screen if possible. It's there. This is a story from Mahabharata. It seems after the war got over, Krishna and Arjuna, when they were there in Hastinapura, one poor Brahmin comes and cries and says, I have lost 8 of my children. As soon
Hmm.
as they were born, I lost them. I shared that story with Abhi, right?
Hmm.
And he
This is
cries
from
to Krishna.
Bhagavatam. That story is from Bhagavatam.
He cries. It's from Bharatam. If, I don't know. Okay, origin I'm not too sure, but
Yeah,
he
Bhagavatam.
cries, and Krishna does not respond. Arjuna is surprised. What is happening? Krishna is not even saying anything to this. Then he says, no, Arjuna, as he was very uh, impulsive, if I could use that word, he tells that Brahmin, old poor Brahmin who comes, don't worry, I will ensure. He tells, I am about to have another child. He says, I will ensure that your ninth child is protected no matter from where. Whoever is taking away, I will fight with them, be it Lord Yama, doesn't matter. I will stop them and I'll ensure you have your ninth child. Then Krishna says, no, Arjuna, don't do that. You don't know who is taking it away. He says, no, 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 I have Gandiva with me and I can fight anybody in this whole, all the three words. There's nothing that can stop me. And then he gives off his standard Shapadam, the promise. If I cannot get save your ninth son, I will kill myself. I'll jump into a fire or something
Immolate.
as usual, right? Immolate myself, and that's it. So then, so he tells the Brahmin, "You let me know when, as and when your wife is about to conceive." So after a few days or few months, the Brahmin comes back and tells Arjuna, and Arjuna immediately goes to that house and covers the whole house filled with arrows and he is himself standing outside as the Dwarapalaka protecting the house. And after a while, he hears the cry of a baby, and after that, there was a wail, crying of parents. And this Brahmin comes out and starts cursing Arjuna and says, because of you, I could not even see the child. Earlier, child used to be born, and we could hold the child, and then the child used to die. This time, as soon as he was born, he disappeared. Arjuna says, what is this? How can it disappear? I'm standing here, I've covered everything possible. How can it disappear? It's not possible. So he says, it seems he went around all the worlds. He goes to the Yamaloka, he goes to the Indraloka, he doesn't find. He comes back and he's prepared the fire to jump. Then Lord Krishna comes, being the friend, right? Friend in need is friend indeed, right? So Lord Krishna comes and says, Arjuna, come, I'll take you and show you where these nine children are. And there the description is a beautiful description actually. I felt it is a description of a black hole because Krishna takes him on his chariot and they cross all the space, all the stars, Nakshatra Loka they cross, and then they enter complete dark space. It's described that way. And it seems Lord Krishna to get the light there, he puts the Sudarshan Chakra to, and they travel at the speed of mind, not even speed of light. Imagine they go at that speed, cross this dark tunnel, and when they reach the other end, Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Adityavarnam Tavasah Parastat, something like that. No, there they find bright, beautiful light, and there going forward they find Lord Mahavishnu reclining on Adishesha, and all these nine children are at the feet of Lord Mahavishnu. And then Lord Mahavishnu says, I called you. It's actually Krishna himself, right? So he says, I called you here. Your time is up now. You need to come back, right? Here are the nine children. You can take and give them back. But Naranarayana, your role on this planet is over. You need to come back. That is the story. And they come back and give all the nine children. So you can see that beyond black hole is the Dyauloka, which just now I mentioned. No, there is a Loka beyond all this so-called space that we are seeing. There is, in fact, the same thing comes in Purusha Sukta, right? What it says is, Sabhumim Vishwato Vritvaatyadishtadashangulam Purusha Evedagum Sarvam Yadbhutam Yatcha Bhavyam Utamratatvaseshana Hedanyena Tiruhati Etamarasya Mahima Gusya Purusha Padosya Vishwabhutani Tripadasya Divi. Only one pada is what you see right now as the whole world. Tripadaha. Three times this is beyond this whole universe that you are perceiving, which you don't even know, which is the Purusha form. The whole form is actually, we are seeing only 1/4 of the form, and we are saying this is Virat Rupa, this is Virat Rupa. This is not, this is the only 1/4 of the Virat Rupa. 3/4 is beyond our ken, our knowledge. And that is the loka. So where is Bhumi spread? And therefore, what is the sun that we are talking about?
That's why
Right?
we are
They are,
that
so it is
according
the sun. So
just to understand it, so the shloka refers that bhu, what we call bhumi, is spread across everywhere. It
obviously,
is
no.
across nakshatra and everything.
How
And then
can Bhumi
similarly,
otherwise be a part
yeah,
of the Panchabhutas? If Bhumi was only planet Earth, that means on Mars only four bhutas are there and fifth bhuta is not there. How can it be possible?
okay.
Right?
No, that's very good logic. So from that, bhu is everywhere.
Correct.
Similarly, Aditya also is not one. That
One,
is
correct. In fact, in Arunam, which is the mantram which is used for doing the Surya Namaskara, they talk of 12 Adityas. Right? So Aditya here in Aditya Upanishad, no, Surya Upanishad, is described as Anandamayo Vijnana Ghana Aditya. So
is a
it,
very
because
beautiful praise.
a beautiful statement, actually a statement which I think is most apt for Bhagwan. Swami, I think there's no better way to describe Swami because he's Anandamayo Vijnana Ghana Sai Shaha is the right way, right? Aditya is what Vedamata told us. It's the same, right? So where did Hanuman go to learn? He went to learn to that one single Aditya, which has taken so many forms, which is a form of it, a fragment of it is what we see as sun from this planet Earth, right? So that one single entity, which is the Aditya form, right? Which is the Arandamaya, which is the Vijnanamaya, there he went and learnt all his knowledge. And by saying that he put his legs across the north and south, and it's only to tell constantly he was facing his guru. That means what? Constantly he was attentive. In fact, our Gurukula, if you see, no, was also that, no. The Sishyas were 24/7 with Guru, and Guru is to ask for that attention. So wherever Guru goes, they used to walk behind him. Wherever Lord Sun went, Hanuman walked behind him. That's what it means almost, right? So it was a Gurukula. So this is again a very um, mm, it's an analogy. It's a story form to tell us that Lord Hanuman, as the right disciple, constantly faced his guru, right? No matter where his guru went, and constantly attentive, and therefore he learnt everything. He was called as Nava Vyakarana Vekta, right?
See, that is why I'm saying Hanuman, you can explore it so much when you go into it much deeper. You look at it. And I always actually admire it more to look at Lord Hanuman as a very beautiful ideal or an example, a role model for a spiritual aspirant. Because even though he was a God incarnate for most of us, yet his life can literally be taken as a role model for every bit of it. I want to share one thing, and I would like to have a little discussion on that. Is, you know, how Hanumanji balanced his responsibilities. See, on one hand, I want to, because this is something which most of the devotees face, and most of us go through these kind of dilemmas, what we call as dharma sankat, or dilemmas of moral dilemmas, which we slightly say that way. But look at him. He had a very dedicated child. He was, and he gave his full attention to his parents too. He was a wonderful friend, and he, in fact, dedicated his life for his friendship. Because of his friend, he even left his own small little kingdom and, so to say, the comforts of his royalty, and he walked around the world safeguarding his friend because of promise. And then when he found Ram, he was completely surrendered and dedicated to his master Ram. In spite of the tug of war which we all devotees face in our lives, we get pulled by our professional life, we get pulled by our family, then our heart craves for something. In this, how beautifully Lord Hanuman has managed himself, am I saying, that he not only fulfilled all his obligations to the best, he in fact dragged everybody to God. So that way he managed and beautifully, balanced his dharma. So his dharam sankat actually was an motivation for him to deliver better and better in life. How do you both look at Hanuman from that perspective? And how do you see that, if we want to summarize it and say that as a devotee or as a spiritual aspirant, how do we handle these kind of dharam sankats or moral dilemmas? Floor is yours.
Rajgaru.
Sir, okay. Uh, but I would like to
Raju, you got mute. You got mute.
You got mute.
Can you hear me now? Am I audible?
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, no.
Yes. So, sorry, I just want to add 2 3 points as pointed out. One of my classmate had a great recognition, being first in some of the national exams. So he was granted interview by Swami in appreciation, and in that he comes from a kind of an atheistic, agnostic, atheistic family. So he was telling Swami that Swami, because of this, my father was a little hesitant to come, but today, all these years he was hesitant to come, but today he's here by your grace, and everything is slowly falling into place. All my relatives are also now beginning to respect you, kind of admire the system of education, etc., etc. And then Swami makes a very significant statement. He tells him that when you put God, the act of pleasing God, as a first and topmost priority, then everything else in life falls in place. And that's exactly what we see with Hanuman. He put Ramachandra as the primal focus of his existence, because of which everything fell in place. There was a senior, very senior devotee and a very well-known industrialist. He was asked to share his experience once in Trai, and he was shared it with boys, during which he had shared his apparent dilemma, and there was a bit of discussion after that narration. So the warden was arguing that how the dilemma can be overcome, etc. All this was happening in Swami's presence, and then this senior devotee looks at Swami for guidance, and then Swami benevolently tells him that if you reflect deeply, through a true devotee, there can never be a dilemma. There'll be one there when there are two options. When you reflect deeply and pray, you will always notice that one is superior to other. And Swami makes this statement. He had told me many times, this senior devotee. He said, to a true devotee whose heart is filled with love for God, God never puts him in dilemma, never ever puts him in dilemma. The fact that you are in dilemma is actually not God testing you, it is actually a reflection of your own self. The dilemma is telling you very softly but powerfully that, hey man, or hey mind, your priorities are not right, get them right. Only dilemma comes to a mind which has confused priorities. Now in this case, Hanuman had no confusion at all. For him all that mattered was Ramachandra. And another point Swami says that if there is a flower, if there's a in discourse, he says if there's a flower in a garden, only the garden has the fragrance. But he says if there is a devotee in a family, if there is a son who is devoted to the Lord in that family, that entire kula, means entire caste, gets the blessings of that devotion. He says everybody, like the honey, how a bee is drawn to a flower, like that, because of his devotion the entire clan will be drawn to the Lord. That is what we see with Hanuman. That Hanuman had that unwavering faith, and because of which Sugriva benefited, Kesari benefited, and the entire Vanara clan itself became part of Rama's entourage. I think that's what we very clearly see with Hanuman's life.
Beautiful. Anil, you want to
Beautiful.
add something?
Yeah, yeah. Only one point here. His moving with Sugriva, leaving the kingdom, right? When Sugriva went to Rishyamukha Parvata, was not only because that he was a playmate of Sugriva and then later on a minister of Sugriva, but because he saw that Dharma was on the side of Sugriva, that Sugriva was following dharmic path, and therefore Lord Hanuman supported him in his journey. If he was not dharmic, Sugriva, right, Lord Hanuman wouldn't have gone with him. We can't say that statement now because it's not happened. That thing has not happened at all. But then, for certain, it is because Sugriva was dharmic all through, all along. See, as when he was with Vali, even before the uh, fight with um, Kesini, right? Oh, even before the fight, he was a very obedient brother of Vali, as and he didn't have any two thoughts about serving his elder brother and being a second in the kingdom. He never had any problem. Similarly, after he sees that the blood is flowing out of the caves, he puts the stones, he waits for a very long time, comes back to the kingdom, and then he in fact even does the tarpanas to Vali, thinking that Vali is dead. And only after that, he, out of the force of the ministers around, he takes the throne. And when Vali comes back after pushing that stone with full rage, he comes. The minute he sees Vali entering the court, he gets down from the throne, falls at his feet, gives him his crown, and says, "Now you sit there, I will serve you." So he was never in any doubt about what he is. He never went onto the wrong path. So Hanuman saw that he was following Dharma, and therefore Hanuman supported him and made him the friend of Lord Rama. Right?
See,
So
when you
Hanuman,
look at, yeah, beautiful. See, when you look at this, because why I raised it was is a very common issue which everybody talks about it. The facing of dilemmas, and I think both of you have beautifully summarized it. That if we keep God as a central point, then there will be first of all no dharma problem. There will be no dharmic dilemmas. And the second, which you just highlighted, that if we have the clear understanding of dharma, then dharma sankat won't happen because the
yes,
things will automatically fall into a chronology where you will see which dharma takes precedence over other.
correct.
So it's a lack of
And
understanding of dharma and probably non-prioritization of God in our life, which may is
yeah,
indicated to be as dharam sankat.
yes.
Wow,
And
I like.
maybe little on the lighter side, it is the part of his yukti, because bhakti also requires yukti to ensure that the bhakti is sustained, right? So it was part of his yukti to ensure the king to him to whom he was the minister make him itself a dasa of Rama. He has no problem to reach to Rama. Now the king himself
Well,
is brought and put at the feet of Lord Rama. Then he
well,
has no
that
problem. So
I
that
think
was
that
his.
we have seen.
If you
That
look
we
at
have
it on
seen.
the lighter side, if you look
Yeah.
at it on the lighter side, he suggests the friendship between Sugriva and Rama as a yukti for himself to ensure that he is with Rama. No,
No, I think that
possible.
we have seen it, and we will continue to see how Hanuman is so proficient in doing that,
Yeah, yeah,
negotiations and all of those. That's excellent. Okay, I would like to break it up and see in Hanuman's life. If I want to break it down into three major parts, one Anjaneya before meeting Ram, and one as a Rudra-Avatar after realization. Oh, sorry, before meeting Ram, and third, I reversed it. Sorry, when he meets Ram, and then when he is realized as an avatar. What I'm trying to figure out, what I find interesting about Hanuman is when we look at the story part of it, Hanuman in the physical journey is not aware of Sri Ram, as per the Valmiki Ramayana also, and as per
yes,
even Bhagwan. Bhagwan Ram Katha Raswayini also does not mention it that way. So we understand that Hanuman did not know about Ram, yet he was constantly craving for something supreme. And even though he performed all his duties, he remained attuned with this concept of looking for Ram, or sorry, for the supreme realization. If you look at that phase of Hanuman till he meets Ram, how would you correlate that as a as a sadhaka or as a spiritual aspirant? What attributes can we learn from that?
It, it's like the
So
Vidyarthi
just
Dasha.
going through one of the
Yeah, yeah, go ahead,
sorry,
go ahead. Go ahead.
so I just adding one point. Uh, uh, One of the talks about Hanuman, in which he quotes from Ramayana, and Lord Rama is apparently from Valmiki Ramayana, where Lord Rama apparently learns the greatness of Hanuman from various people, and he asks sage Agastya that oh great sage, that it is said that Hanuman is as valorous, as probably little more valorous than Vali himself. But why is it that this Hanuman kept all the while running around the world without confronting Vali? Why is it that he could not take on Vali and bring him to his knees? Had he wanted, he could have done that. So to which Agastya beautifully answers. He says, Rama, he did not meet Rama to know what his strength was. So that I think
Beautiful.
I
summarizes
know.
this entire journey what you're saying, that without Rama, Hanuman is like that massive, potent sleeping giant. But it is that like the big zero, as Swami says. And the Rama, the principle of Rama comes, and then overnight, I mean, we literally see within 15 days, this monkey which ran around the world becomes a superhero. He crosses 100 yojanas skillfully, he confronts Ravana, he kills his son, he burns a massive city, finds Sita, comes back as a hero. I mean, you look at just overnight transformation. If you, in the current days, is overnight hero. All that happened was the magic called Rama entered into his life, and Hanuman is no more the previous Hanuman.
I
Beautiful.
think it's beautifully explained. Eh? So beautifully
Beautifully
explained.
explained.
Lovely.
Lovely. And actually, if you take it forward, no, Lord Rama goes, it is always, because Vedam also it is said, it is always the volition of the divine to reveal itself. In Mahanaranopanishad, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan Atma Guhayan Nihitosya Jantoho Tamah Kratum Pashyati Vita Shoko Dhatu Prasadan Mahimana Misham. Very beautiful statement it is. First part, all of us know it's very often quoted. Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan, right? The one who is subtlest among the subtle and the mightiest among the mighty, right? Anoraniyan Mahato. Atma Guhayan Nihitosya Janto. He is there as Atma inside in the Guha, inside the cave of the heart, in every GV, right? Atma Guhayan Nihitosya Janto. Tamah Kratum Pashyati Vita Shoko. Crossing the tamas, right? And crossing the sorrow. You can see him Dhatu Prasadan Mahimanamisham. Here is where the whole crux of the
Beautiful.
statement lies. It is only by the prasadan, only by the will of the divine Mahimanamisham, only by, this is what Swami wrote this Vedic statement and made us all sing Dayacheta Dhanyulu Kavalera.
Yeah.
ఎంతాటి వారలైన దయచేత
Beautiful.
ధన్యులు కావాలి, because it is only the divine who decides to reveal himself. And when will that revelation happen? We don't know. In fact, Swami, in one of his discourse, Swami said, all that the devotee can do is keep praying and keep being on the path and keep yearning. When the Lord wants to reveal is the choice of the Lord, and how he reveals is also his choice. But when that revelation happens, Hanuman becomes Veeranjaneya, right? So it is that so in fact we see in Ramayana, Rama himself goes to Hanuman. It's not that Hanuman comes to Rama in search of Rama. Hanuman is with his king jumping around the hilltops in Vishamuka, from one hilltop to another hilltop, right? And in fact, even when these two enter, Lakshmana and Rama enter, they start jumping from one hilltop to another hilltop in the fear that they might have come to kill. It's then that Hanuman goes in the form of a bhikshu, right? So Lord reaches out to the person when the time is right, and Lord Himself reveals Himself to the person when the time is right. And when that happens,
Beautiful.
it is a it's a change once and for all. It's a transformation.
See, another beautiful thing which I'm realizing listening to both of you is that, you know, just because we had an opportunity to live with God and see for no logical reasoning in my head, He just bestowed it. So we have taken certain things for granted. But when I'm listening to both of you and I'm looking at Bhagwan Ram Hanuman's life, it is very clear a role of how a renunciant or how a devotee or how a humans must live their life. Hanuman did not know even a physical God existed there. He did his dharma as per the protocol of his life. He had parents, he had friends, he had everything. He was doing his job, and yet he was constantly in the quest of Supreme. As you just said, that Bhagwan said the only devotee can do is to pray and continue doing his dharma. Rest will happen. When it will happen, we don't know. So
Correct.
Hanuman, I'm listening to you and I'm getting that Hanuman was a perfect example that he lived through his life. And if I can put a number to the age, it is somewhere around 30, late 30s, 38, 39, because that's the 23 years Ram got, Vanvas, and 14 year is getting over. This is the last year of their Vanvas when Hanuman meets them.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's roughly around 38, and Hanuman and Ram are almost of the same age bracket. So we are looking at 38 years of person who has lived all his life with the dedicated focus on the Supreme while performing all his duties, in fact, running around the whole universe many times with Supreme. So he was not a sitting place and he was not doing nothing and just sitting and thinking of God. He was actually engaged with the mortal fights all his life till 39 years, yet focused on the Supreme consciousness, so that when Ram appeared in front of him, it didn't take him any time to acknowledge and then surrender. I find that too fascinating and too amazing
The
that
metal is ready
when
for the maker's hand,
really,
right?
as Swami
You
says, no,
don't
you
want
can't
this.
look for Guru, you
No,
can't find a Guru. You have to prepare, and Guru would appear.
right.
This is a very fantastic example of Hanuman that he lived his life to the perfection, and the moment Guru appeared, he was not like us that God appeared and told, I am here, and yet we are asking questions and answers. And with our limited mind, we have the audacity to even test God. Whereas Hanuman, with all the knowledge, got from the source on a physical level, yet he drops down on his knees and accepts him as his master, just
It's
at the
because he was knowledgeable. I would say it's because he was knowledgeable, he accepted. Because we don't have the knowledge, we question, right? We don't see the reality. It's because he's knowledgeable, he
I mean,
realized
it's
the.
fantastic. Raju, you want to add something in this
And
point?
I think just one point, I think that is the reason why Swami started these educational institutions, because knowledge, vijnanam, knowledge, vyakarana, the language, all these are also essential learnings for us to reach to the Lord. We should consider these also as methods of reaching to the divine rather than as digressions of taking us away from the divine, right?
Yes.
Good.
Now we have discussed this, Raju. We have discussed this,
Yes.
Ajnanam and Jnana, Avidya and Avidya. That
Hmm.
how Avidya is part of Vidya, otherwise
Yeah,
you can't get. So you have to go through the loop to come back to Vidya. So Avidya is as important for a human journey as Vidya
yeah,
for
yeah.
the final. But Hanuman, I would say this is a phenomenal. journey of Hanuman till he meets Ram.
Yeah.
Because many people complain, many people say that, oh, you are lucky to have seen Bhagwan. We have not seen him. And people think that way, as if we have always had a day in and day out conversation with Swami. And though nobody realizes that our meeting also was only 5 minutes, but still we can't be ungrateful about it. But there are many people who may have this thought that, what about the people, majority, who have not seen God? So here is an example of Hanuman, who literally had not knowledge about that avatar has come on a physical terms, and yet he lived a life with perfect attention and preparing himself that when the moment came, he didn't waste even a second.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Absolutely. I think,
Absolutely.
as Swami says in one discourse, all that the Tyagaraja had of Rama was, it seems, Rama passed from one end of the door to the other end. He just saw Ramachandra passing from this end of the door to the other end of the door. And Tyagaraja attained that supreme bliss. And even, for example, the Bhakta Kannappa, in the same discourse, Swami mentions Bhakta Kannappa had not even seen Shiva. He only feels that it's actually only in some sense it's a hallucination, that he sees one eye is bleeding, and without hesitation he takes away his eye, and other eye also he gives up. But later that hallucination turns out to be so real that Shiva himself appears and grants him the blessing. I think Hanuman is such an example that he prepared. He was so ready that when he met Ramachandra, unlike others. So, for example, if you look at Sugriva needed some kind of preparation. So, there's the two contrasting characters. I mean, it is also the beauty of Ramayana. Swami so beautifully teaches that when Hanuman and Sugriva, both of them, met Rama in more or less the same time. But one side we see Hanuman, who declares himself as a Dasa, the Dasoham Kosalendrasya. On the other side was the Sugriva, for whom Lord Ramachandra promises all his help. And yet the Sugriva has the audacity to tell Rama that, fire your arrow so that the trees fly away, and let me check your strength.
No,
Sir, I
Sugriva
think you
was,
had a
was an
point
example.
here.
Raju is a bit harsh on Sugriv.
No, 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 no. Sugriva is one character. No, I also find it quite fascinating. I don't know what other word to use. Very fascinating character. The reason is, no, he's, in fact, today morning's Radio Sai Swami speech was exactly this. Then I understood who Sugriva is. Swami said there are three kinds of people on the in this who take birth, human beings: Pushtijivi, Tushtijivi, and Pravahajivi. Must have heard of this, right? Pushtijivi is one who is born with so much of punya that
Yes.
has been done in the previous birth, that they have a very easy, happy life, right? And God reaches out to them and gives them whatever they require, right? These are Pushtijivis. And in fact, Swami said the Pushtijivis Ananda is the actual Brahmananda, right? In today's discourse, that is the kind of Ananda they live with, right? And Tushtijivi is one who uh, who remembers God when there are difficulties, when there is a Sankatamaste Venkatramana we say. No? So whenever he or she faces difficulties, right, they think of Lord, they reach out to the Lord, be it the difficulty of getting a job or getting a child or health problem, whatever be the case, right? Any desire in a sense which is unfulfilled. And Pravahajivi is one who does not even think of God no matter what happens. And Swami said Pravahajivi is the worst type of birth one can have, because it is only Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, because they are not even thinking of higher self. They're not even thinking of God no matter what happens. Right? So here when I heard this, then I realized, because I was thinking about this Ramayana and today's discussion, and I realized actually Sugriva is Pushtijivi. He really did nothing. If you really see, sorry to say that he really did nothing, but Lord Rama did everything for him. He was literally the farm boy of Lord Rama at that time, right? Had no contribution. See, in fact, even after Lord Rama became his friend by Agni
You
Sakshi,
go there. You
He
both are
went
too
to the
much to
kingdom.
speak.
He went. He went to the kingdom and did what? He was lost in his sensual pleasures for the next 4 months. Not even bothered. Lord Hanuman comes and reminds him, should we say in our normal parlance, guy, get up here. Enough is enough now. There is time. You have to act now, right? And then he sends. He takes his permission because he is the king. Takes his permission and sends a few of the Vanaras to call all the Vanaras from across the globe to congregate there because they all have to go in search of Mother Sita, right? And then Lakshmana comes, right? And it is just that it's Lord Hanuman times it so well that before Lakshmana comes, he gets this done. So that when Lakshmana comes, Sugriva has a statement to say that I have already sent people, I have already sent Vanaras, Dutas to call all the Vanaras. Action has started, right? But if you really see the back end, who did the work? Lord Hanuman did the work. And what did Sugriva do? Nothing. He only said, okay, go ahead.
I think you
Right?
guys are a bit too much on Sugri. But
No, but
anyways,
this is
let
what
us
we see.
let's take it. Yeah, let's take this forward.
No, no,
So
but it
we have
is a
seen
good
the first
point for
part.
us to know
No,
that
sure.
today's discourse, no, Bhagwans actually confirms in Ramayana, you see all three types of jivis.
GVs.
The Pushti Jivi, and Pravaha Jivis are all the Rakshasas, right? We see all three types of jivis in Ramayana,
Sure.
right?
Let us
So,
let us spend little time on the second part also. When he says when he meets Ram, I think the meeting Ram also is very beautiful. It
beautiful.
is actually a very. It's like Bhagwan is to explain the river meeting the ocean. One day Bhagwan very beautifully explained. I was going for somewhere and somebody said, "Have you seen river and ocean merge?" So and he talks. We keep quiet, and he says, "Watch it. The river goes downwards and ocean comes from top. So the conversion is like this. A conversion, a river is going downwards and the ocean comes from top. But
And
when the
Swami
two
also used
oceans,
to continue that initially it pushes away the river water.
uh
You know that initially it
Yes.
pushes away, and
Pushes away.
then river continues to persist. That's when the ocean comes to the top and engulfs it.
and then he says, when the oceans meet, they meet like this. The ocean conversion is like this, but river conversion is like this. So it's very beautifully Bhagwan explained. And now I'm just thinking of it in terms of Hanuman and Ram, Sri Ram's meeting. The conversation which they have is very interesting. I think you and Raju mentioned the first conversation, how Hanuman introduces himself. And we find that even though Hanuman had converted himself, transformed himself into a sadhu's vesh, ascetic's form, yet they both give their exact introduction. They do not hide their introductions, they don't even camouflage their introductions. Like even Ram, when he was giving introduction to somebody else, he did not tell exactly. Even Hanuman tells something else. But to each other, even though they were pretending, they give exact true introduction so that there is no waste of time. And the way he explains, and there is a very beautiful thing which even Bhagwan has mentioned, that Ram turns towards Lakshman and says, watch his words. The way he's phrasing sentences, the way he is using the vocabulary, he has to be a Prakand Pandit and a most honorable person to use such language in introduction. So imagine in this, I'm just trying to visualize that how were they standing and how did this conversation happen and how did Ram turn to Lakshman to tell him that comment. Just imagine that. But when I think about Swami, I realize that he would also have the knack of just telling us something when the world is watching and yet nobody would know, but he had already done the job. And we would just, yes, Swami, and we can't even smile or laugh. We had to just listen to him. So only because we have seen that, I can understand that yes, while this conversation is on, Ram could speak to Lakshman and convey this so that he becomes attentive to understand that they are meeting not an ordinary ascetic, who appears to be a sadhu in the forest, but he's somebody different. And then the instant Ram introduces himself, how does Hanuman react? You both have studied Ramcharitmanas and Ramkatha Swaini. What is your feel? And because I find it too beautiful as a devotee and a too beautiful journey of a devotee merging with Ram. There's a fantastic union. It's a cusp when the river merges with ocean. It's a cusp where the droplet falls in the river. How do you look at it?
Raju garu,
Sir, you explain, sir.
you go ahead, go ahead.
So, brother, I would only just submit this point of view as Swami beautifully writes in Ramakatha Rasavaini that Hanuman immediately recognizes and he falls at Rama's feet and he acknowledges the divine personage that he is meeting. But my this is just my submission and my point of view is that what we are uh, visualizing as you put so beautifully it probably may not be at this point. I think the physicality, the aspect of individuality of Hanuman still existed, and the aspect of individuality of Ramachandra still existed. So there are the two beings still, there is the duality still. I think it is only that bhakta is meeting the Bhagavan, or here we are seeing the Dvaita aspect of Hanuman's in some sense life starting. So here till now, as sir had used that word, the Tushtajivi, in some sense there was no thought of apparent thought of God in Hanuman's life, but yet his dharmic way of living brought him here. Now he has come on to this first pedestal of Dvaita, where he is looking at his sugar candy, which is standing right in front of him, and he wants to kind of make it consume it completely.
Beautiful.
So he, and that is how I think, as Swami in one discourse says, it seems when Hanuman was looking at Rama, there was that 2 to 3 minute. I mean, there was, it seems, apparent gap because Hanuman was so lost looking at Rama that when Rama reveals that he is Ramachandra, so Rama had to literally remind him, saying, "What happened? I mean, why are you so stunned?" And that's when he comes back and he says, "Now come with me. I will take you to Sugriva." And that is a sign for Lakshman also, because we should also understand the context in which they are meeting uh, Hanuman. Just prior, they were kind of fooled, or rather, they were kind of deceived by various Rakshasas in various forms, including Ravana himself, who comes as a mendicant and he does what he wanted, he did what he wanted. And then we look at even when Mother Shabari comes, Lakshmana's first question was who he suspects Mother Shabari. It is the same the case with Bharata approaching Rama, and Lakshmana begins to suspect intentions of Bharata. Lakshmana was always on that prowl that is someone approaching Rama to harm him. But in this case, Rama takes the lead and he tells Lakshmana that watch his words. He's not an ordinary being. I think it is to prepare even Lakshmana, saying that uh, do not be worried. He is actually a great one. And on the contrary, we nowhere we find, not even in Ramkatha Savai, not even in our Valmiki, Ramayana, where Lakshmana's intentions are even mentioned, which means Lakshmana is also floored by Hanuman. Such is the aura of Hanuman that through his language he kind of won Lakshmana's heart, and through his devotion he won Rama's attention and heart, and rest is history. Rama did the magic. Rama weaved the magic on Hanuman.
It's very similar to what I thought was when I was going through this in Valmiki Ramayana. It's very similar to what Swami used to do. I think we have seen that photograph of it earlier. Swami used to give to devotees his visiting cards. I don't know whether you remember Swami sitting on the floor, that beautiful visiting card, no, with Swami's photo sitting on the floor with hand on the side, right? And it had Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. So we see, but that Swami also did something very similar to what Lord Rama did. Introduced himself, though he is the supreme who is within each one of us. When he first meets the devotee, he meets him as one-on-one individual interaction. This same thing we see with Krishna and Arjuna. Krishna goes to Arjuna in that Swayamvara time, right? Not
Swayamvara.
Swayamvara, that Draupadi Swayamvara time,
Yes.
and
Draupadi.
introduces himself, introduces himself and his brother, Balrama, right? And see, imagine the Lord. He knows very well this is my devotee who is going to be with me forever now, right? And even he's there within each one of us, right? But Swami also, in all his interactions, he's to first interview or first meeting with the devotee. Swami is to introduce himself as though he's another. Imagine giving a visiting card as though he's another official or a person who is doing a job, right? Giving a visiting card. But that is the simplicity of the divine when he comes down, because he wants to relate to the person. This is something that we have to understand. That Lord Rama also wanted to relate to Hanuman. He didn't want to show that he is the supreme being. You now reach me and I'm sitting here, right? I am right on the top. You now put your efforts and reach me. No, that is what Avatar does not do. Avatar comes down and immediately relates to the individual. How? By speaking the same level as the individual. So when Hanuman introduced himself, Rama in turn immediately introduced himself. Rama could have just been silent, right? But Rama said, no, I will introduce. And also Hanuman, no, beautifully tells there, that's what I mentioned earlier, no? He introduces himself as the son of Anjani and Kesari. And he is the minister of Sugriva, right? And he inquires, you don't look to be medicants. The way your dress is showing you to be medicants, but your form, your features are so wonderful, so magnanimous, so gambhir, means so valorous that you are definitely the kings of the three worlds. Right away, he tells Rama on his the very first meeting. He says, "The minute I see you, I can recognize you, though your dress is deceiving you, right? Your actual nature, you are the divine, you are the one who is the overlord of all the three worlds. I can see that in your very form." And then Lord Rama, he doesn't acknowledge that part of it. He says, I am son of Dasharatha, right? Yes, we are the son of Ayodhya kingdom, right? That is when the relationship happens. And as we all discuss now, Rama tells Lakshmana to observe him and immediately. And one fascinating thing that I felt was both come as bhikshus. One is the devotee of Shiva who comes as bhikshu and takes away Sita. Other, Shiva himself comes as bhikshu and meets Lord Rama, right? Both come as bhikshus only, right? But see the attitudinal difference. When the divine comes in another form, his attitude doesn't change, right? He still continues to be that. Shiva is considered to be constantly reciting Ramanama, right? So Shiva comes and sees Lord Rama, and there's a union of, if you look at it from the Shiva Vishnu perspective, there's the union of the Shiva Vishnu Abheda, right? Shivasya Vishnu Hridayam Vishnu, Vishnusya Hridayam Shiva. This joining happens between the Shiva and the Rudra aspect of the divine, and there they become one in a sense. By that very meeting itself, they recognize each other, right? But then they remain to be as two different individuals to take on the journey of Ramayana, right?
I'm remembering a story here. Not story, actually, real life thing. I think it was around 12th, we were in 12th grade and we were studying in the Portico. And I'm sure, Anvia, you will remember in those days, you get 1 month study
Yeah.
holidays for board exams.
And you'll go for
And,
morning darshan.
and when Bhagwan was there, we could go for morning darshan. So we
Correct.
used to always wait for that morning darshan kind of a scenario. And we would take the books because Swami will not let you sit just idle. So he will come and go for long. In those days, the darshan used to be around
Yeah.
6:30, quarter to 7, and bhajan used to be at 11,
11,
11,
11, 11. Correct.
11. So it was very long gap in the morning. So Bhagwan would give at least 2 or 3 sessions of interviews. And so we had a lot of time to study, and then he would come and interact with you and go back inside. So one day what happened was somebody who was sitting in the front, we were all supposed to read when Bhagwan goes for interview. So he had his books and notes and he was reading, but sitting in the front row and his head was down. He didn't even realize when the door opened and when Bhagwan came out. And Bhagwan, before anybody could realize, he had just come in, he rushed out and he stood right in front of the boy. And the boy was head was down, he was looking at his books. Suddenly he saw the redness in front of him, red robe.
No.
And he jumped up, He jumped up like that. He said, Swami. And Swami looked at him. There was a very beautiful smile. And then Bhagwan made this statement, and I'm just recalling it now. He asked, how much do you all study? So everybody was like wondering, like, what is he asking? It's examination time, right? So he said, again he asked, how many hours do you study that? So some boy just thought, okay, Swami is having a conversation. So we started off. Somebody said, Swami, we college we go and then we study at night for 2 hours or more. So total number of hours, how many? How many you study? So some boy started throwing numbers now, 10 hours and all that, if you include the college and all that. I said, so much. And during examination, he says, Swami, that time it goes more. We are studying till late night and all that. After a pause, he said, so much you study for this one paper.
I remember that, yes, conversation.
How much you have to study for this paper? And he
Correct.
just did like that to him. He said, for one examination of a small subject, you all give so much of your life. Imagine how much effort is required
To reach, yeah.
to do this study. So he, like, obviously, you can imagine the stunness, and he disappeared. Another day he came out, same scenario. He catches somebody, and then he starts talking. Then he says, why do you study all this? So he said, no, there's nothing to answer, like we saw me. He said, all that you study for what? To reach me, right? Now I've come. Then why are you still studying?
Correct.
For that
That I
moment,
think I
I
think
thought
it is a
that
beautiful
let me
point.
drop, let me drop everything and then just jump. But we didn't know where to jump, what to do. But look at the point, and that has triggered in me so much that Bhagavan mentioned that you are struggling to achieve me, but you must also know when to stop and how to stop. And what does it mean? We say, I want you, Swami, but what does it mean? And here was God who was saying, you prayed for me, I have come. Now, why do you struggle? Now, what is there to struggle and study and work hard? You arrived. Now, what does it mean? This is bolded me.
I think this answer for that is what we are just now discussing. Hanuman saw that he had arrived his destination. And what did Hanuman do after that? Is an example for us. He never left Rama after that. Is it not?
Yes.
He never left. He actually arrived. He realized he had arrived his destination. And that's it. From there on, it was no looking back. Right? His constant thought was, in fact, in one of the interviews that just now, as you were saying, I remembered. Swami was telling the minute Hanuman saw Rama, from then on he started Rama Nama Japa, and he has not stopped it even now. Swami said this was in one of the interviews. Swami was talking, and then Swami mentioned this beautiful statement. He said, because he's Chiranjeevi. So Swami, from the time, so that is, I think that's the link that we need to understand. The minute we see Bhagwan, what Lord Rama did is an example. From that moment, what happened to Hanuman from the moment he saw Rama was told by Swami. that he started Ramanama and he never left after that.
I think the
Because
crux.
Hanuman, yeah, because Hanuman stands for Nama Sankirtana, right?
I was saying the summation seems to be that you know there's nothing beyond his name.
That's
Just
it.
that's it, right?
Yes, Kasturi's life, there is a beautiful Kasturi Garu's life, one beautiful interaction with Swami, in which he is talking about various sages and saints attaining the ultimate realization of the self. He's telling Swami, and Swami says, you also will get it. Very jokeless. It was apparent in the interaction. The first time when Swami said it, it's not going to Kasturi Garu. He writes it so beautifully. He says, since it's not going to him, he did not realize. He said, Swami, me, you're talking about me getting that state. And he begins to apparently mock Swami's statement. Swami then suddenly changes the tonality of his expression and he becomes serious and say, why not? You will get it. And he adds on, then Kasturi adds on saying that to a life that has dedicated itself to the Lord, it becomes the responsibility of the Lord to give that experience. At the end, the
Yes.
fag end of Kasturi's life, where his daughter recalls that she says, what is your name? Is it Kasturi? Kasturi says, the Kasturi is dead. This Kasturi is supreme self. Do not call him Kasturi anymore. That's a sentence Kasturi says in his room. And I think he has attained that. That's what we see even with Hanuman. To a life that has dedicated itself to the Lord, it becomes that yoga kshemam vahamyaham. That it becomes his responsibility to grant everything. I think Han- Hanuman's life is such an example to us that when you see him, dedicate yourself to him completely. And it is his responsibility to take care of yoga and kshema.
I'm just recalling Brother Rajareddy Garu, in his only I think one and only interview that he had given, he mentions in a very casual tone that the chanting of Swami's name is going on. So he says,
Yeah.
while I'm talking to you, also it is going on. And he mentions it in such a casual manner, as if when you listen to him, it seems like, are you surprised? Like he's surprised at why we are not doing it. Like, there's a surprise element in his voice that, don't you do the same thing? So, I'm just still struggling, like how his mind is continuously chanting Saina and he's doing everything else in life. And this is
So
an
I,
example of
I
Trigger.
so because we are in this, then I'll recall my conversation with Dr. Alreja, another person of great dedication and devotion, right?
Yes,
He used to
certainly.
come to hostel as hostel doctor for a while, and I had the good fortune of at that time being the faculty in the hostel and being in charge of the dispensary. I used to go to pick him up in Mandir, his West Prasanti house, get him by hostel car. After the dispensary is over, I used to again drop him. So during such times, he was not given to too much of speaking. He was very mitabhashi. So, but then one day I asked him, sir, tell your. So he narrated experiences of some other time. We'll discuss that experience, various experiences he narrated, and then he casually same just like what you felt. He very casually said, what you should do is have uh, Sai Nama all the time. So I got very curious and I asked, sir, how do we actually do it? Is it means I'm talking to you now? Namam is not there in my mind right now. How do we do it, sir? Can you also guide me into that? He said, you remember he used to say G, G. His common means for everything, every sentence ends with G. G, क्या है उसमें? जी उसपे उसका आपका ब्रेथ में डाल दो बस हो गया. He said. ये-
I wish you could learn this. Our breath में डाल दो.
what he meant after that thing is, at least he told this much because he was a very mitabashi and you can't get more out of him. That was the problem. Very little is to talk, but amazing sadhaka, amazing sadhaka. He was.
just for people who don't understand this Hindi, he said, put it in the breath. So nama should become part of our breathing.
Breathing.
Wow, I wish we could learn this trick. Put it in your breathing. That's it. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, brothers, I think we
Yes,
have to
bro.
continue with Hanuman. Lord Hanuman has a lot to share, and we have, in our limited source, also we will continue to explore him further. And the last one, Panchajanya, Rudra-Avatara, this part, I think we'll explore it later on because that part to understand, we'll go through the journey first of Lord Hanuman and then we'll explore it. But we will continue, and I pray to Bhagwan to give us this strength and allow us to really continue this journey so that we can continue to learn and get inspired by this beautiful form. So, thank you, brothers. Any final words before we close for today?
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you,
Saira.
brother.
Sure.
I thank all the viewers also for joining us, and thank you for your inputs. And if you have any further inputs, questions, or suggestions, please feel free to write to us. Saira. Thank you very much, brother. Saira.
Right.